Hey sisters, and welcome back to another episode of Blemished. My name is Frances Cantu, and this is my channel, Wife Stuff. And here on this series, I share with y'all just how blemished I am, but that we serve an unblemished God. All right, y'all. Y'all know that this series is about me being raw and authentic with y'all and sharing my perspective and things that I'm walking through. Well, this is so close to home, and this is really hard to talk about, but I want to share because I want to protect other children. I want moms to be prepared for things that they may not like myself, but that need to be talked about, things that we need to do, things that we need to put in place to protect our children, because we don't live in the world that we lived in when we were growing up. Not saying that things didn't happen then, but it just seems as if it's more out there, or the things, the crimes, the scandals, the just tragedies are getting worse and worse. Like, the severity of these things are just getting worse and worse. Now, I mean, when you read your Bible, you know that these things, nothing is new. Nothing that is being done now wasn't done at some point in time. But it does seem as if there are agendas being pushed. It does seem as if our culture is changing with the wind, and just life is just a little bit different than when we were growing up. And you know, I was a teenage girl once. I understood, certain things. There were certain values that were meant to be held by me, that my parents instilled in me. But there were things that I was rebellious in. I'll be honest. I was not a perfect teenager. I was like many of us. And I was boy crazy. And I had my own issues and things like that. But now we live in a culture where it's like welcomed, like just act however you want, do whatever you want. God doesn't matter. It's what you feel, whatever you want to do. And it is very dangerous to have that mindset, especially with children. So, like I said, this issue hits really close to home, and I just want to let y'all know, like, I'm not here to ask for sympathy. I am telling you straight up that I've failed my children. I failed my children, and now I am seeing the consequences of that. And I am working really, really, really hard in order to change my heart and my mind, renew my mind with the word, and just really set in place, like, what is valuable, like what matters. And my kids might think that I am overbearing. They may think that I am, unloving, and that I'm unfair. But at the end of the day, God gave me my children in order to protect them, to instruct them in His word and in truth. And I cannot do that unless I am also walking in that truth and in that spirit. So over the past few months, we have been dealing with an issue, or we dealt with an issue rather, of allowing our children to have cell phones. That was like step one of a mistake. Now, I know a lot of parents will say, well, I have protections, I have things in place that don't allow my kids to download certain apps, because I know that there are parental controls that you can do. There are measures you can take in order to prevent things. The only thing that I would have to say on that is there are ways around it. And I know from experience that there are ways around it. There are also their friends who may not have the parental controls that you have in place on your child's phone. And so they are able to freely download at any point. There are just access to internet via school or wherever. And there are ways around these things. There are ways to be able to access sites, access apps, all of these things that you don't realize. And there are particular apps that I want to talk about and touch on that are very, very scary. Another thing is, a lot of us might be saying, well, not my kid. Not my kid. I have instilled all these things. We don't even talk about these things. These are not things that they would even encounter. Maybe your children are homeschooled. Fine. I'm not saying anything against that. I particularly now am wanting to homeschool my kids. But here's the thing. There are so many things that are being pushed in our children's faces that we don't even realize. So maybe they're not particularly seeking after these things, but watching TV, there are things that are on TV now that are just over sexualized, that are just really honestly like cartoons that have sexual characters or, sexual things happening. Just stuff is being pushed on our children that is just subconscious. Like they don't even see it. They don't even understand it. As young as my child, 3 years old. And I think statistically, the average age for a child to see hardcore porn is 9 years old. And I know for a fact that I was one of those kids who stayed up late at night and watched pornography. I was, I believe, like 7 years old when I first saw, naked people before, naked men and women. And I think it's just important that we don't keep our children in a box, that we don't shelter them. But I also think it's important that us as parents, that we share with our children what sex is. And I know that's hard, and I know that's something that's uncomfortable, and it's weird, and it's awkward. But here's the thing. If we're not teaching our kids about sex, somebody else is. Whether that's the world, whether that's, public school, or whether it's something, it's going to be pushed in their face at some point. And it's just better that it comes from you as a parent, especially the perspective of, hey, sex is a good thing. Sex is a gift. It is between a man and a woman who are in a covenant marriage. God designed it. He knows how it works. And when we work outside of those bounds, there are consequences. And there are real consequences. And also to protect your children so that they know when they encounter something that is sexual, or when they see these things, that they're aware and that they can turn away from these things. Because again, it's just getting younger and younger and younger. So that being said, there are apps out there that are targeting children, and they are being promoted in a certain kind of way, like, oh, parents, y'all don't have anything to worry about. This is a way there's a particular app I'm about to mention that is literally, when I went on there and saw the reviews, I've never even heard of this app. I just discovered it this year. Horrible. So this app is called Frog. And literally what this app is you go on here and you make a profile, and anyone from around the world, which it is supposed to be for preteens and teenagers, but like anything else, there's more than that on there. There are adult men and women on these apps pretending, or not pretending for that matter. I came across a few that were not pretending to be young adults. But that were, teenagers, but that were young adults, that were 20, 25, even 40. And what you can do on this app is you can literally get on there. There's just names scrolling across the screen. Pick a name. You immediately can start chatting with this person. You can send videos, you can send pictures, they can look at your profile, all of these things. this app is also connected to Snapchat. So although you may not see activity on there, it may be on Snapchat. Now, there's another danger. Snapchat has a feature to where you can literally zoom in and pinpoint up into the street, the house, and even the room someone is in their home. That is devastating. That is wild. That is crazy. And if their location is on, or if they tag a location, if they're at a checkpoint, I think that's what it's called. I'm not really sure. Like I said, I haven't done like 100% research in all of this, but I know what I know. And so that's what I'm going to be sharing with y'all, what I do know. And so when these people, they might tag a certain area that they're at, you can see what they posted in their story. So if they clicked on you, it could be anything. I've seen anything from animals, people posting their animals, oh, hey, this and that, to very provocative things, just really disgusting things, drugs, alcohol, sexual things, like you name it, I've probably seen it on there. But that's the thing, is these apps are promoted as if, oh, it's only for teenagers. When I went on the reviews, Common Sense Media is an app, or it is an app, but you can also view it online. And basically what this is it'll break down a movie, so you know what's in the movie before you watch it. So we use it to see if there's any cussing or provocative scenes, alcohol, drugs, all of these things. It'll break it down. Well, this app Frog was on the review, and when I went to the reviews, it was like, oh, such a great app. The parents were saying, oh, this is such an amazing app. My kid has made so many friends, this and that. When I looked through it, I didn't find those results. I found just disgustingness. I don't even know if that's a word, but just vulgar. Anytime there was any interaction, it was very sexualized. It was immediately sexualized. What are you doing? Send me a picture. Things like that. Just blew my mind. But yet is being promoted in such a way that's like, oh, this is such a great app for kids, and this and that. And then you go online and you look up things, and it's just like, hey, download Frog. And it's these influencers, these teenage influencers who are talking up this app. Again, I just want parents and others to be aware of these things, because these things are being pushed on our kids, and they are being promoted as such a good thing and such a positive thing. And it is disgusting. It is negative. It is vulgar. It is downright satanic, honestly. And so, as a child, again, we have a sponge-like mind. Children have a sponge-like mind, and they want to know things, and they're curious. But that is why, as parents, we need to educate our children. We need to be providing them resources and an opportunity to have open communication with you, so that they can talk about these things, that they're not uncomfortable. And if they see that you're uncomfortable, they're going to be even more uncomfortable. And at the end of the day, like I said, if you're not teaching your kids, somebody else will. Maybe it's another peer, maybe it's an adult, whatever have you. And this is an opportunity for us to protect our children and to give them real knowledge. And I'm not saying you have to give full detail or anything like that. There are a lot of things that we didn't tell our kids because of the different levels in age. And there are things that we have felt like, oh, maybe they're not ready in this area. But quickly we're seeing, no, they need to be taught these things because somebody else is teaching them, somebody else is preparing them, and they are preparing them in a worldview and not a biblical view. So I hope that this gave a little bit of perspective. I hope that you are monitoring your child. Again, you might seem like a really overbearing parent, and it might seem like, oh my goodness, Mom, I never get to do this, or my friends get to do that. But I hate to say this, but there are a lot of children who my children have had in close contact who have been sexually assaulted, who people that I know that I've heard stories of, grown men, just, I can't even get into it. The point is, protect your children. Make sure that they are safe. Make sure that they understand that when they walk down this road, they might walk down a road that they cannot come back from the same. Of course, there is redemption. Of course, Christ is amazing and he can renew and restore anything. But I don't want my children to have to walk down a road that they didn't have to walk down because I was negligent in protecting them. Before I close out today's episode, I would really, really like it if you know of any apps outside of the ones that I mentioned. If you know of any apps that are going unseen or are being promoted in such a way that is positive and that our kids are a part of, please leave it down in the comments below so that a way other moms can be aware of these things and be ahead of the game, honestly, so that they can be ahead of this, that they can be watching for this. And I will see y'all in the next episode. God bless y'all and go and be a light out there.